the Southern Ohio Farm Show. This is Gigi Neal of OSU Extension in Claremont County, Agricultural and Natural Resources Educator.
I'm James Morris, the Agricultural and Natural Resources and Community Development Educator for the Ohio State University Extension in Brown County.
And I'm Brooke Beam, the Ohio State University Extension Educator for Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Community Development in Highland County. And we will be your hosts for the Southern Ohio Farm Show. This week on the Southern Ohio Farm Show, we check in with two local farmers. We learn about tree harvesting, how to protect your pets this summer, and also direct marketing of local meats, as well as one sweet treat you can make at home. Welcome to my family's farm in Clinton County, Ohio, where I am currently planting some of our 2020 corn crop. Right now we're planting our seeds at a population of 36,000 plants per acre with a singulation, and the planter is 99.6. We're cruising along at 7.8 miles per hour, and things are going really well at the moment. We missed some rainstorms this afternoon, and so it's dry conditions in the field that I'm in, and we're going to continue planting for the remainder of the evening. So right now I'm at 81 acres out of a 120 acre field, and it is about 10 till 10, and so I should be able to finish it before midnight. So I hope everybody else's spring season is going well.
Hi, my name is Nathan Brown and I farm in northern Highland County. I want to give you a little bit of a crop update. Once again, the spring of 2020 didn't let us down. Cool, wet weather really hampered our planting efforts. We really didn't get anything planted until the last week of May. We planted all of our corn in about a 4-day time frame. We've got the majority of our soybeans in at this point. We're hoping to wrap those up this week. What is in the ground so far looks pretty good. We're still waiting on things to completely emerge, but we're looking good so far. Looking at hay and pastures, looks like there's going to be a lot of tonnage out there if we can just get out there and get some dry days, get some hay made. And the pastures right now need good clipping, but overall, so far, for what we've dealt with, things look pretty good. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dave Apsley. I'm a forester and a natural resources specialist with Ohio State University Extension. I'd like to take a little bit of time to talk to you about a resource that many of you might have on the farm, and that's your woodland. During these tough times with COVID, we know that folks are stressed financially, mentally, and you might be tempted to make a decision to harvest timber without really thinking the process through. Now, we're not here to talk you into selling timber or out of selling timber, but what we'd like you to do is just do your homework and get some help so that you can do it in a way that benefits you financially, but it also benefits your long-term goals and what you hope to get out of your woodlands for you and your family in the future. So before you harvest timber, we really hope you slow down and get some help. Maybe work with a forester. Your state service forester might be the person you initially contact to get some advice on deciding, okay, does it make sense to harvest timber? And they might encourage you to get a forest management plan or a woodland management plan to come up with some ideas and goals of what you'd like to accomplish, and then a plan of action on how to get there. But once you've decided to harvest timber, we highly recommend that you work with a consulting forester. These folks are trained and experienced to help you with the harvest. They can help you with the whole process. And typically what they would do would be to go through the woods and work with you to decide what kind of trees to harvest. Once you decide if a tree is to be harvested, you put a paint mark up here on the butt log, what we call it, and you put one down here at the stump. And then as you're doing that, you're making a tally or list of those trees. That forester would also, in that process, measure those trees. We're using a thing called a cruiser stick that has a Biltmore stick built in. This tree is about 24 inches in diameter. It's about 2 logs tall, so it would have about 370 board feet. So now we know we've got one red oak here. It's a northern red oak, 2 logs tall and 24 inches in diameter. We can actually come up with an estimate of its value. And if you go through the woods and decide what trees to harvest, you're going to make a list of trees that are for sale. It's kind of like an auction. How do you decide whether to go to an auction? Well, you're going to look at the sale bill. And this would be similar to the sale bill. We would have a list by species, size, and quality of what we're selling, and then we would mail that to potential buyers. At that point, they would have the opportunity to come out and look at your trees, and they could place a bid on those trees. Typically, we use a sealed bid process. You'll get all those sealed bids in. You'll work with your forester to decide which bid you're going to accept. You don't have to accept the highest bid. You might want to take into account the bid and also the reputation of the person that's putting in the bid or the company that's putting in the bid. Once you decide that, then you know the amount, and we call that a lump sum sale. Typically, with a lump sum sale, you would be paid in full before the trees are harvested. And that's a big benefit to you as a forest or as a landowner, because being paid in full prior to the harvest takes a lot of the financial risk out of it for you. It also, by using this process, it probably qualifies you for capital gains treatment when it comes to taxes. So your tax burden would be much less than it might be if you're selling the typical way that many folks do on shares or on a percentage. We really want to caution you about selling on shares as well, because there are lots of other implications with it. Not only tax implications, but some liability issues. And that selling on shares or selling by a percentage usually isn't in your best financial interest either. 50% is the common percentage that you would split with the logger. That may or may not be a good deal, but if you've got good quality trees in the woods, does it seem fair that the person harvesting them would get half of the value of that tree, where you've actually had it on your farm or on your property for maybe generations? You're paying taxes and you're working to keep that forest healthy. So again, if you're thinking about selling timber, we highly recommend you get some help. So we recommend a couple things. One, you might just start by taking advantage of a program we started here in Ohio called Call Before You Cut. Call Before You Cut has a web presence, and it also has an 800 number that you can call. If you call, we'll actually mail you a packet of information. Unfortunately, in these COVID times, we might have to email it to you or send it to you electronically. Or you can go online and look for these resources. And it just gives you lots of things to think about and places you can go to get help. We also have a directory of foresters that's out there that we can share with you, so you can find a forester that's qualified to do the job. So again, your woodlands are a great resource on your land. We highly recommend that if you're going to sell timber, you get some help doing it, because it's really something you're only going to do once, if you're really lucky twice in your lifetime. So you want to slow down, take your time, and do it right. Thank you.
Hi, this is Johnny Schmidt, a National Tree Farmer of the Year. Like an old friend, your woodland has spent a lifetime with you. And if you've ever considered looking to your old friend for income, contact a professional forester and use a master logger. They'll help ensure you receive the best financial return while retaining the health of your woodland. Remember, call before you cut. For more information, call toll-free 877-424-8288. That number, 877-424-8288.
Thank you, Dave. We'll now turn the program over to Garth Ruff of Henry County.
Hey, good morning, and certainly a timely topic given the disruption to the livestock packing and processing sector here over the last couple months. But really, this direct marketing of meat and livestock products is something that we've seen grow really over the last decade here in Ohio. Here's a list of things that I ask producers to consider as they enter the direct marketing world. Before that first animal is ever harvested, we need to figure out who our target market is. Who are we going to advertise towards with our product? Do they have the means and willingness to pay for a quality eating experience? What's the marketplace going to be? All right. Are we going to take our product into town to the local farmers market? Are we going to work through a local retailer? If it's something like selling wholes, halves, and quarters of beef, maybe they pick that product up at the processor and you never have to handle it, those type of things. Regulation, probably where we get the most questions on the extension side of things. You know, do I have to have work with an inspected processor? Yes, the answer is yes to sell that meat product, and we'll get to that here in a few seconds. What other licenses and documents do we need to have all of our T's crossed and I's dotted before we sell that meat product? And we'll talk about that. Product quality and having a very good relationship with your processor will make moving product certainly a lot easier. Marketing strategies. How do we market that product? We have a whole host of resources available at various extension websites to help with the marketing side of things. Time and labor management. Labor requirements. What does it cost to get your product to the consumer? What's the value of your time as a producer? And then pricing and collecting money. Pricing is probably where we get the second most questions. What needs to go into that pricing formula? On the regulation side of things, we're really looking at meat inspection, or the guarantee of wholesomeness that product's safe for the consumer, and then meat sales, safe food handling. On the meat inspection side of things, there are two entities that inspect our local processors here in Ohio: the Ohio Department of Agriculture and the USDA Food Safety Inspection Service. Both of them ensure wholesomeness. Probably the biggest difference between the two, going through a USDA inspected processor, we can then sell that product into interstate commerce. We can sell that product across state lines. As far as meat sales and safe handling, things like our food licenses are going to be regulated by the local county health departments. So in addition to two inspection entities in Ohio, we also have two types of processors. We have fully inspected meat processors, product that is processed, harvested, and processed under full meat inspection. The label is going to bear that legend of inspection, and that product can be sold to the public. Then we also have custom exempt processors. Animals harvested under custom exempt, under that custom exemption, need to be consumed by the owner of that animal and their immediate family. The product harvested under that custom exemption will be marked not for sale and should not enter commerce. Cannot enter commerce here in Ohio. As far as licensing requirements, our marketplace is going to dictate what type of license we're going to need. If we're going to the local farmers market in town, it might be necessary to get a mobile food license. It's temporary for a short period of time. You may have to renew it multiple times throughout the year. Or if we're going to sell at a farm market or sell meat, from our farms, a temporary food license might be necessary. All right. Both these licenses are regulated by the local county health department. Price can vary from county to county, but work with your farmers markets, work with your local health departments to figure out what licenses are going to be best for your direct marketing scenario. As mentioned earlier, pricing is often a point of concern. What all needs to go into that pricing formula? The cost of the animal, the cost to raise that animal, or the cost to purchase it, the feed that animal consumes, the value of that feed, yardage. Often that I look at that as the value of producer time. What does it cost to have that animal harvested and cut at the processor? Packaging, labeling, those type of things. Transport, license and fees, whether it's from the health department. Another license to be aware of is if you're going to store that product at your farm, you may need a warehouse license from the Ohio Department of Agriculture, Division of Food Safety. A warehouse cannot be the home that you live in, but it can be, something like a garage where you have a freezer, refrigeration, an area that can be cleaned and sanitized. Advertising. What does it cost for you to acquire a customer? I think that's a good way to look at advertising cost. And we add all that stuff together and we have our break-even cost. We can divide our break-even by our yield, and that's going to give us an average price per pound. If we're selling wholes, halves, quarter carcasses, it's a little simpler. We can use dressing percentage as an estimate of the portion of the live animal that's going to remain with the carcass. On average, beef cattle are going to dress 62%, hogs 72%, and our shorn lambs right around 54%. We can use that dressing percentage times multiply it by the live weight of that animal, and it's going to give us a carcass weight and help us price those whole halves and quarters. If we're going to sell retail cuts, then we have to consider cutting yield. It might take an animal or two to figure out what your cutting yield is going to be on a percentage basis at your local processor. As far as direct marketing resources, we have a bunch of them here within OSU Extension. I encourage you to check out the various resources. The direct marketing team, kind of led by Christy Welch there at the South Centers. We also have some resources at the Ohio Ag Manager site and the OSU Extension Beef Team website. If you have any questions, reach out to your local county educators here in Southern Ohio, or don't hesitate to contact me as well.
Thank you, Garth. And we'll now turn the program over to Dr. Tim McDermott of OSU Extension in Franklin County, who is also a veterinarian.
Hi, let's talk about our furry friends. I'm a big dog fan, and I want to give just a few tips that you can use to keep your four-legged friend healthy this summer. We're going to do a little bit on basic care of the canine. So the first thing I like to stress is, do you have a veterinarian client-patient relationship? This is really, really important. I practiced over 20 years and I made lots of great friends, and having that veterinary client-patient relationship in place allowed me to do treatments and to give guidance on the occasions where we might not have been able to connect virtually. Our normals that we want to keep track of are temperature. We like them between about 99.5 to 101.5, but I'll be honest, if I had a Labrador bounce into my office on a hot day and he's running around the room, not uncommon for me to see a little bit warmer than that. As long as he was healthy, I wasn't too worried. Same with pulse. It could be anywhere from 60 to 120. Dogs get nervous at the vet the same way people get nervous at the doctor, and that can spike that pulse up a little bit, as well as if they're running around. Normal respiratory rate, we like to see about 10 to 15. It can be slower than that, actually, if they're really, really calm. If it gets much higher than that, we start thinking we might have a worry. And then we check things called mucous membrane colors and capillary refill times. We like those mucous membranes to be nice and pink. You can check it if you push down on one of your fingernails. And when you let go, we want that to get refilled or turn back into pink in less than 2 seconds. And then dogs will thermoregulate due to panting. That may be normal. That may be a problem. They can also have panting from nerves. They can have panting from pain. So that's where the physical exam comes in. In terms of what's really important, that wellness visit once per year is outstanding because it allows us to take a look to try to find problems ahead of time. The earlier you can diagnose a problem, the faster you can implement treatment, the better your chances of success. We'll do an examination that may or may not include vaccines. We like to do that blood test for heartworm and get on heartworm preventative. We discuss flea and tick control. We are having tremendous problems with tick vector disease in not only people, but in our companion animals as well. And then we're going to check for any signs of internal parasites like worms, because we want to make sure that we can address those once per year. Dogs eat weird stuff, and we want to make sure that they're healthy. I recommend that you have a basic first aid kit at your house. A thermometer is a great thing to happen because you can take your temperature at home and then you can call your veterinarian to go over that. For obvious reasons, make sure you put a label on that says it's the dog one. You do not want to mix that up because dogs get their temperature taken the old-fashioned way. Not a bad idea to have some bandages around, but be careful with this because if a dog chews on that, sometimes they'll tighten that bandage down and they can actually cause constriction. So work with your vet on that. The cones of shame are awesome. I love them. Dogs hate them. And the reason is because they work great at stopping them from chewing on things that we don't want them to chew on. Keep in mind that cone technology has improved over the years, and we have some good options that might not be as destructive as the big one on the bottom that will still prevent that dog from turning around and biting himself or herself. Owners will trim toenails at home. I think that's wonderful. Keep in mind that if you look at this figure in the bottom, toenails actually, you can cut where it is just nail. If you get too close, you might hit where there is a vein or an artery or a nerve, and they can bleed. If that happens, it's good to have some quick stop powder around, but in a pinch, you can pack that tube with flour. Sterile eye wash is a great thing to have around. This isn't contact solution. We are talking a sterile eye wash. It's the correct tonicity that matches tears in case they get something in their eye. Work with your vet on that just to make sure that you are doing that procedure correctly before you start. And then doggies commonly get ailments with their ears that they might need to have their ears cleaned out. There's lots of different online recipes for things that might have alcohol or peroxide or whatever that are in there, but I highly recommend you get a product from your vet. They're not expensive. You can get a big bottle of ear cleaner. It's going to be much gentler on the ears than anything in case those ears are inflamed. You don't want to cause pain, and it's going to last forever. And then there's a bunch of different disinfectants that are used commonly to clean out wounds. I don't recommend you use alcohol. That burns. Peroxide is actually cellularly toxic, and that can make the problem worse. My two favorite are iodine and chlorhexidine. You can get those at any pharmacy. Iodine is the one that's going to turn them yellow. Both of those are very effective at killing bacterial or fungal or viral elements, and they don't sting. So here's a few different situations you might find yourself in, and this is good guidance. Most of these you're going to want to call your veterinarian. And first off, keep in mind, if your dog is injured or in pain, I know they love you to death, but keep in mind that they might be startled or they might want you to stop, and I don't want you to get injured. I had a dog that I had to muzzle in order to trim her toenails. We made nice when we were done, but I just didn't want to get bit, and she didn't want her toenails trimmed, but we had to get that done. Limping. If they're limping, first thing you do is put them in a crate. They will not regulate themselves. They will still try to run and jump and go up and down the stairs and get up and off the couch. I don't want them to injure themselves further, so put them in the crate, call your vet. Bleeding, depending on where the bleeding is, you might be able to completely treat that at home or not. But just like with people, hold pressure if possible in order to allow that wound to clot. And that's why it's great to have a cone around if you need that, because if they have a wound that's bleeding, right after you get it stopped, if they can go back and chew on it, they will open that wound right back up. You may be able to bandage, you may not be. Work with your vet on that because certain places take bandages better than others. If they're coughing, boy, there's tons of different reasons that they can cough. Don't use over-the-counter medications to try to treat that because some of them have toxicities in dogs. That's where you call your vet so we can figure out, is it coughing because there might be a cardiac problem? Is it coughing because they might have picked up a bug? Are they coughing because they just got into something weird? Lots of different reasons. If they're vomiting, pull the food and pull the water up and call your veterinarian. If they need to go outside, take them on a leash because what they'll do is they'll go out and eat grass. And nope, I have no idea why they do that, but people ask me that all the time. But you pull the food, you pull the water, and you call your vet. The reason that you do that is they will commonly try to eat or commonly try to drink, and their belly's not settled at that point and ready for it. And they're going to dehydrate faster if they're vomiting than if they're just simply not drinking, because when you vomit, you also lose electrolytes. Diarrhea, call your veterinarian about that one. We're going to want to figure out if your dog's acting sick or not acting sick. The nice thing is if you have that veterinary client-patient relationship in place, there are some over-the-counter products that your veterinarian may recommend to you that can control that diarrhea if we don't suspect that there's a secondary problem. Similar to pain, call your veterinarian, make sure that you're working with your vet on that. Tremendous amount of over-the-counter medications that are out there that people take that dogs cannot take. So there might be an over-the-counter situation, but there's very few drugs that are applicable that are better over the counter made for humans than what we have for dogs. So work with your veterinarian to make sure you're using a product correctly. And then dogs eat and drink weird stuff. If they do that, believe it or not, there is a poison control for animals. And I don't have all of the different poison problems and toxicities and things like that memorized, but they do. So if your dog gets into something funny, and it's usually about 1 o'clock in the morning, make sure that you call poison control. They might have you induce vomiting. They may not. Some poisons that works for, some toxins it doesn't. But get the guidance so that you know that you are doing that correctly. We want to make sure that you and your furry friend have a wonderful summer, and stay out of trouble, you two.
We've had some beautiful weather over the weekend, and it is a perfect time to enjoy ice cream. If you want to up your Sunday making skills, add local strawberries, which are in prime picking season now. However, if you also want to make a famous dish that has local tries, try to make a banana split. It should be noted that the claim of where the banana split originated is debated between a town in Pennsylvania and Wilmington, Ohio. However, we will go with the local lore, as Wilmington is home to the annual Banana Split Festival. However, due to COVID-19, the festival was canceled for this year. So if you are craving your banana split, you're in luck for this segment. Thank you to Shelby Boatman, the director of the Clinton County History Center, for digging through the archives to find more information about the first banana split in Clinton County. The first banana split was made by Ernest Hazard in his cafe in downtown Wilmington, near the intersection of modern-day South Street and Locust Street. Hazard offered a competition for his employees to create the best sundae in 1907 in hopes of attracting more customers from Wilmington College. The result was the banana split, which was a success with the local college students. In this picture of the cafe from 1907, you can see the banana split being advertised on a mirror for 10 cents. Hazard is the third from the left. While it will unfortunately cost a little more than 10 cents to make a banana split today, they are still a favorite ice cream sundae for many. I am a current member of the Hillsborough Rotary Club, but my grandmother is a long-standing member of the Wilmington Rotary Club. The Wilmington Rotarians annually operate the official ice cream stand at the Banana Split Festival, and my grandmother took me with her for years when she was working her shift at the booth. So I have several years of experience constructing the official banana split, and I'm going to share the recipe today. It starts with a foundation of strawberry, chocolate, and vanilla ice cream. One banana split lengthwise with each half on either side of the ice cream. Strawberry, pineapple, and hot fudge toppings are applied next. Top your sundae with whipped cream, nuts, and cherries for a finished product. The final product is delicious, and I hope that you are able to enjoy your own sundae with local strawberries this week. That's it for this week on the Southern Ohio Farm Show, and we hope that you have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next Wednesday.